how's it going, everybody? So let me do some adjustments real quick, make sure we get audio and everything like that. Music's not too loud, so let me just adjust that and let me get some feedback from people in the chat before we get started, because I do kind of want to keep this kind of going a little bit as far as music goes. And we'll get started here. You can actually see that audio is changing inside of that chart right there, so we'll have to keep in mind when we get back to it. We want to see how things are going. We're going to try to keep this a little bit quick today, because I want this to be kind of like a how-to video for everyone that may want to do this. They don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of time to do this. But let me give a little brief overview of what we've got here. I have a Python script that's listening to the audio coming in to my, or coming out of my computer. It's taking that information and doing a standard deviation measurement of the average over time. And then anytime it goes outside of that standard deviation, it sends a volume level and a level of standard deviations away it was, and then sends that over MQTT to an MQTT broker. And then from there, from the MQTT broker, we have a web service that's running this fireworks simulator, which we are passing and ingesting that information. And as the beats go, it fires off about, I think it's 4 different types of fireworks shows. And more details on this tool, like for example, the different shell types and things like that. This is an open source project that I found that I'll link in. It's linked into the GitHub project. And let me do a couple things. I'm going to drop a few things in the chat, and then you'll see everything kind of coming through. So let me know if anybody has any questions. You'll see everything. Make sure can everybody hear and see me. I'm seeing we got about a couple of participants, a little bit in the chat, or nobody in the chat just yet, but just want to make sure that everybody is getting good and clear information coming through so far. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this, and what we're going to do is going to build this from scratch from the Git repositories. And you're going to see those things stopping, all those so the web service is now stopped. And we are going to create a new project. Awesome. Thanks for acknowledging that you guys can hear and everything's good. Thanks for joining. And if there are any questions, we're going to be doing most of the questions directly from the webinar. And if you want access to that webinar, you can go here. If you are in some of the other places, get out of here. There we go. Sign in, and this will be where we'll be taking most of the questions at the end. So I've got a project, and it's called the Fireworks Simulator V2, and we'll be following along. I can link that into the chat right now so people will see that. And if they want to follow along, feel free to do so. And then we also have a Node.js instance that's basically taking that information, visualizing it, and giving us a countdown to the New Year's. So the first thing you need to do is we're going to clone this repository. So let's open up a new PowerShell. And I'm going to go to my project folder. And let's see what we got here. So we're going to create a, we'll actually git clone, copy the git information, and paste it. It's going to clone that into our project. So what we will see now is we have the Fireworks Simulator V2, and we will follow along with the instructions. I went through the instructions last night the second time around to make sure that they are all working. But of course, there's always an opportunity to find out that you missed something. So we are going to get this out of the way because I can't see my buttons. Find new window, close this one down. And that is going to be a problem. file, open folder, and we're going to navigate to ourselves where we just dropped that fireworks simulator, open it up. And we're going to do a couple of things where we have to create a Python environment. If you haven't done so, it's pretty straightforward. Just keeps things, come on. There we go. Keeps things a little bit straightforward, makes our life a little bit easier. So we're going to open up a terminal down here at the bottom. And we are going to, I've created a directory where I've got all my V virtual environments for my Python. So we'll cd back into that. So we'll see cd v. You'll see in the instructions that what we're going to do is be creating one that's called audio. I've already got one called audio. So today we're just going to create a new one called audio 2. So Python -m. And if you don't have Python, and when you type in Python and it doesn't work, you might just need to set it up in a path, or you can just directly go to the directory where that Python exists. And so it's like C:\Python, yada, yada, yada. But for me, I got Python already set up, and -m, vnv, and then like I said, I'm going to do audio 2. So if you don't need to do that, it's going to create that for me. Takes just a second. And now we should see audio 2. So we're going to go to /audio, nope, audio 2 scripts activate. And you're going to see that audio 2 on the right-hand side, which basically creates an environment. So when I install the requirements and things like that, I don't have any library issues. So now we're going to navigate back to our directory where our project is. Fireworks simulator, CD, and we're going to go into the audio tracking. And let's see what we got here. So we got a couple of files. We'll open them up here as well. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install those requirements. Pip install -r requirements and run. It's going to look at that file, which I have all the requirements for you, and install them for us. Just take just a second. And then while that's kind of going, I do have a couple of files here. So we have audio devices. This script will tell us what audio devices we have in our, what is a GitHub repo? I'll drop it in chat again. And again, this is going to be recorded, and if you get lost, or you can come back and record and go back to it in the future. So it's going to be on YouTube, Facebook groups, and LinkedIn. So we'll have it recorded and then kind of spliced up quicker for YouTube. But so now that we've done that, but again, audio devices, what this does is it tells me what audio devices I have inside of my environment. So that's one of the quick things to kind of figure out how things are working. So what I'm going to run is Python audio devices, and it's going to give me a list, and I've got a lot of audio devices here. One of the things, yeah, I can stop the music. Yeah, sure. Thank you. So the music is gone now. So as we look at their devices and audios, there's going to be a couple things here that you will see. And I'm doing this on a Windows, and it's going to be called voice meter output. And that's what I've got here. This is a tool to allow me to take audio that is being output into my system and then resend it back into as an input. So it kind of like loops it back. It's a two-part solution. You can see those down here at the bottom. That's called VB audio. Oop, where did that go? That seems like that link is not working. Oh, there it goes. VB audio, and you can download this, and then there's another tool called VB cable, and it allows you to set up and kind of and we'll open up my sound settings real quick so you can see that. So if I go back to playback, my default input is voice meter. input, and that's going to be my virtual input here. So all of my audio is being going through this tool called Voice Meter. Um, and then it's being regurgitated out into a couple of different solutions. Right now we have the my what I'm hearing right now is coming through back into my Yeti speaker microphone, which you see in front of me. So that's a couple little things about how that's kind of set up. And this is key to kind of identify and being able to loop that music back into your system. And this isn't necessary. Let's say, for example, you want to pull into, let's say, a microphone just sitting on your desk. This is all completely unnecessary. If you want to be just having this up on the TV and you have your laptop and you just have this like displayed on a TV and you have music playing in the other room, it'll work and you won't have to install this. This is just if you're wanting to play from Spotify from the same computer. So you have the list of the device IDs. Are you not seeing the repo? Oh, I am not sending this to everybody. My apologies. So there's the repo right there. I really wanted to make this difficult for everybody, it seems like. So there's the repo right now. But you can find it GitHub, Juba, Fireworks Simulator V2. And the Fireworks Simulator part is a open source project that is linked in here as well at the very top. I believe it was in the top. Yeah, it's called Fireworks Simulator. Thanks to Caleb Miller for making this available. So now that we've listed out our audio devices, what we now need to do is kind of figure out which one we're going to use. I already know that my voice meter is audio output 2, our device ID 2. But to test this, we have a new Python script here that's called test device. And what you're going to do is change this input right here at the top. In this particular case, it's like I was saying using microphone, so I could talk into the microphone. And you're going to get feedback, so be ready to cancel it pretty quick. You'll hear things twice because it's going to kind of loop it back into your environment. So I'd recommend doing it with headphones so you don't like blow out your speakers or anything like that. But it allows you to identify which device is which through testing. And from there, once you've identified those devices, I know it's 2, so we're going to leave it at 2. And then we'll run over to the RunPy and look at the couple configurations here. So you have the MQTT broker. In this particular case, it's just one of my local ones. I do not have any security associated to it. Probably not the best recommendation. But just to get started, make it easy, I just kept it open. I am leveraging Mosquito, and we're sending it to topic/fireworks. And all these are, of course, adjustable for however you want. And then there's that input device that we brought from our selection here is device ID is right here. Just change this device ID. I'm probably going to do a little bit more work and make a configuration file so it makes it a little bit easier in the future. But for now, I just kind of was running a little bit out of time and wanted to make sure I got a lot of the documentation as is. So now that that is done and you've configured those 3 things, and this is assuming that we are sending this information locally back to our environment. Oh, actually, we're saying an MQTT server. Sorry. So you're telling it to the MQTT server and where that information is going. So what I'm going to do now is run Python and then run.py. And what we can do is go over to my Node-RED instance and I'll clear this out. In theory, we aren't going to be seeing anything just yet, just because it's not, we don't have any music playing. So I'm going to turn on music just for a second and let it kind of go. You can hear some background noise, and there you go. You start seeing those messages coming through into our Mosquito server. And that's basically what we've got right here. So I'm going to pause the music so you don't hear that in the background. And now we have our first part of the script, and that is capturing the information and sending it to an MQTT server. And that structure, we'll just pull it up real quick. It's a JSON structure. of, so you have the volume information and the special. So one of the things that it's doing, and I can kind of explain right now, is I'm doing it based off of standard deviations with a minimum threshold of 0.01. So you don't want things just to be firing off when there's no music. And so essentially anytime the music like beats, you usually have a very loud music. So that's when it's going to be firing off things. So every single time it changes or deviates. So, and what those different levels are, and we'll see that in the next, once we get to the next one, is basically those level different triggers into the web service. So with that, we'll switch over to that. Now, we will open up we'll keep this script running on the left-hand side. And what we will do is CD, we got a CD back into the fireworks directory. And this is going to be the script. So what we'll do is we'll have to install this package.json. And so we do npm install. And let me just make sure I'm not missing any steps myself. Yep, run the code, Python, fireworks simulator, npm install. And we can look at the broker information for this particular project. That's going to be found under basic node services. And from here, you can see sorry about that. That was my son running by. The constant with MQTT client and the IP address of that particular device that you'll have to change and configure to your environment. And from there, all you have to do is run node. If everything, there we go, node basic server. Server is now running on localhost 3000. And I have that right here. So to test it out, you can just start clicking on your screen and you can see that it is taking inputs, because the way it works is it's supposed to be based off of like click inputs is how the program was originally written. And what I decided to do is say, okay, well, that's cool. What if I could simulate those clicks based off of music coming in? So, and here's some of the information. You can kind of see that special fireworks trigger, 1, 2, 3, and then the basic fireworks trigger. And that is sending all that information over into the script.js file. And you're going to scroll all the way down because this is the basic components of this fireworks simulator. And at the very bottom, you're going to see on those messages do these specific code tasks, regular, trigger, and so forth, and then fires it off into the rest of the program, simulating this sequence random fast shell, sequence 2 random, sequence triple, and small barrage for the special 3. You could think that as the big climatic event. So, with that being said, everything is running. The next thing that I did is I created a Node-RED instance in which I'm connected to that same MQTT broker. Fireworks, subscribe there. And I created a couple charts leveraging Dashboard 2.0. This is also shared. If you go to flows.nodered.org, you can see this, and I'll link this into the GitHub repository. And actually, you can just start here because you have the project file here. And it is dependent. You need to install the Node-RED dashboard by Flowfuse, which can be found here. So I did breeze through that awfully quickly, 20 minutes into an hour-long webinar. We may not necessarily be using the whole thing, but I wanted to just kind of overview a really cool kind of tool. You could have fun at the end of the year parties and, invite people over and show something cool with Node-RED and some music and audio. So we'll get back over here so we can see that no music's coming through. And so we have the two charts. And we've got the top chart that represents the volume. And then we have the bottom chart that represents the special. Sorry about that. And then we have the special levels of everything coming through. And right below that, we have the page. And what this does is every 10 seconds, it cycles a refresh. And then this UI control, what we're doing is we're refreshing to this UI dashboard. And then we have a timestamp function. And what this does is this updates the countdown timer. So we see the countdown from the top up there. And this function basically, and you'll have to change a couple things here. You'll need to put your time zone here twice and replace it with your equivalent. And when it runs, and basically this updates this clock and pushes that out every second and creates a new element within your or your dashboard UI and called countdown, which you can see here at the top. And you are seeing it. If you don't want this to refresh this page as often as it is, which you see, you kind of see it flashing every couple of about 10 seconds, you can come over here and change that here. I've just got it 10 seconds because I want it to be more reactive. And if you leave it longer than let's say 5 minutes, you're just going to get a lot of information that's going to start kind of looking like an accordion every single time it refreshes. And let me take another quick look here. I wanted to cover one additional thing in the chart mechanisms. I have the access limit to 5 minutes. So if you wanted to see further back than 5 minutes of time, maybe you want to see, let's say, the last 10 minutes, or maybe you just kind of want to see at the latest, like 1 minute, what's the current song and the status of it. And I've done that to both of them. So as you see them constantly updated once information and data comes in. So it was a pretty quick webinar. I did try to make it quick. It was a little bit quicker than I intended it to be. And again, if there's any questions, you can come over to the, and I realized there were some other things that I've been just chatting with everybody, asking questions in the chat nobody saw. So I'll drop my Linktree information. So if you want any questions about how to mess with Node-RED or FlowFuse, that information is there. And then what other information? The link to the webinar again. We will post the video here probably within the next 24 hours. And yeah. I hope this was useful. Let's kick this music back off on, and we'll see if any questions. If any questions come in, I will be happy to help out. So, music on, and let's see. I might have to restart. See if it's coming into our Node-RED environment. There it goes. So we'll let this run for a little bit, see if there's any questions. And yeah, thank you for joining. I will be going live here in the next 35 minutes. What I'm going to be doing is going over OEE and kind of finishing up the last of that series. I think we'll be pretty close to kind of finalizing all the data coming in for overall equipment effectiveness. So find me on those channels. And yeah, looking forward to it. So I'm going to go off camera. I'll answer questions in the chat and see if, and thank you for joining. Have a good day. All right, since that song was finishing up, I'm gonna just let close this out and say thank you everyone for joining us and have a happy new year and happy holidays and looking forward to seeing you. Hope you enjoyed this and if you used it, tag me on LinkedIn and let me know or Twitter. I'll drop that in the link tree. And I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. If you'd like to see improvements or changes, or if you do any changes yourself, feel free to add those to the GitHub repository. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.